I think we'll see if the buttons work. Oh boy, there we go. Please join me in saying good morning to Emil, managing editor of Cree Broadcasting Network News and the host of St. Maarten Insights News that matters to you. Good morning, sir. How are you? How was your trip?
Good morning, Sock. Good morning, listeners. So actually, we were supposed to come back on Sunday, but because of weather in the U.S., and I saw it looked like there was even tornadoes in the northeast part of the U.S. So our flight got canceled. So we only got back on Tuesday. And we're traveling again. We're leaving on Friday, but we had an awesome time.
Awesome.
Yeah. So Sebastian, Maxime, and I, so my two of my children went to Hong Kong and Guangzhou, the southern part of China this year. So fascinating, fascinating. I actually went with Sebastian and Samantha last year and did sort of a historic tour of China. But this year, Sebastian actually he goes to Learning Unlimited, has a number of his classmates that are Chinese and from that region, and they are going back for the summer and meeting family and to their hometowns. And so they invited us to go along.
Oh, how cool.
So this was really tried not to do the normally our trips are very educational, historic, museums and culture and all that stuff. And this one I just let loose and just did
you let them have fun?
Let them have fun but it was still fascinating. I did squeeze some business in.
Okay.
Actually I bought from last year we met a company that is vertically integrated. In other words, they have the factory and the retail and wholesale for linens for hotels. And so I met again with them this year. And then also we're going to redo our gym at the hotel. And so again, found a manufacturer who manufactures and sells. So it's basically buying direct from the factory. So did some business, helped justify the travel expenses.
Right.
And but fascinating trip.
So I've never been to China. If I were to go, what's like for the first trip? Because it's how long should you go for? What should be the things that you see?
So funny enough, when we were there, we met some friends from St. Maarten who went for, I think, the Lions.
The Lions Club.
The Lions Club, and they were going to go from Hong Kong to Taiwan, but there was a typhoon,
right?
And so they changed their trip around. So actually met people from St. Maarten.
That's funny.
Imagine in the marketplace in Hong Kong, and they actually joined us for a couple days in Guangzhou, and then actually some friends of mine messaged that they were actually coming to China to go. They're renovating a house and they're coming to shop and buy stuff. So it was fascinating. And indeed, the questions were, what do we need to do? So if you ever go, and I find China fascinating on the day-to-day level. For me, it was very much, because it's a socialist country. Well, they call it socialist with a Chinese characteristics, right? But it's a politically controlling system, right? But on the day-to-day level, you don't see it at all. It's all about commerce. It's all about being good customer service, good quality, competitive pricing. You don't. It's from the day-to-day level, at least from what you see, as traveling. It's very capitalist. It's very much about, soliciting business and stuff like that. So it was, and the service and the price is amazing. So,
can you own your own company?
yes, I mean they're all of them. The restaurant. So from the vendor on the street, they have like a little cart where they cook noodles and stuff like that. That's all their business. And it was very interesting to see. Very fascinating. So, a couple things. Because it is a controlling society, access to internet. You can access the internet, but they have their own apps. Things like Google, Facebook, WhatsApp. They don't work because that's one of the ways that the government maintains sort of control over the what people say, right?
Mhm.
So I agree that's an issue. So
So what?
before you
What?
go, you need to load like a VPN on your
Right.
phone,
And the VPN will work.
and certain VPNs work. Or interesting, so I have a U.S. phone as well, and so I could actually roam in China with all my apps and everything working. It's just for the citizens, it's a little bit more complicated. They can still access it, but it's just more complicated. And as a tourist, to navigate that is hard. So
Mm.
it's good that you prepare it before you go.
What about language?
Well, that was the interesting thing, is because we went with people who were Chinese speaking. Actually, I speak a little bit, but it's all so my parents speak multiple dialects, and
Mm.
so when I grew up, they would alternate between dialects, um, between when they talked between themselves. They wanted us to make sure that our English was good, so at home we spoke English. So, but they spoke multiple dialects. So I picked up Chinese, but from all different kinds of dialects. So my Chinese that I do speak is an absolute disaster. I recognize words and I can follow a little bit, mostly around food. um, but otherwise, it is an issue. But you can use Google Translate, and you can type in words, and so they're pretty accommodating. China, the interesting thing is, no matter how the spoken language is, the written language is always the same. It's one written language throughout the country. So even if you speak Mandarin or Cantonese, which sound completely different, from a written perspective, the words are written the same. So you can always use Google Translate, but that's a little bit more complicated. It's obviously better if you have somebody with you who can translate.
What? But like getting around it, do people? If you talk to people in the areas that accommodate tourists, do the will you
Some the
some?
English is pretty thin, at least in the areas we went. So last year, for example, I had a relative we met in Beijing who helped us while we were there, but the rest of the part we were on our own. And so we made a point of booking hotels that were chain hotels. And then, they made a point of having multilingual staff, so that made it easier. But the other thing in China is, and this is fascinating, and I kept thinking about St. Martin, is it is basically a cashless society. They have an app called WeChat, and on the WeChat, they have a payment system. So if you go to a small vendor on the street, somebody with a little cart selling fruits and stuff, they don't take cash. All of that is done through the app. So you have to make sure if you go, you have the app working and you have a credit card tied to it. And it can be a little tricky. So that's something, but I found fascinating. The level of insight the government must have into the economy, like how money flows, what sector's doing well, what sector's not. It must be amazing what
Well,
the
well,
insights.
that's because they want to control it all, right?
Yeah, yeah. But the tax
And
compliance is very high. I mean, so I please don't get me wrong. I'm
yeah.
not a socialist. I'm only looking at the sort of benefits of a cashless society. I mean, how much of our economy in St. Martin is underground? Is like the Airbnbs. A lot of businesses that collect cash don't pay their taxes on the portions they receive
But
cash. So
that's because our tax system encourages that behavior.
rewards that
Right? Yeah,
behavior.
it does.
Exactly. I mean,
Yeah.
that's one of the things you and I have said is compliance in St. Martin. If you comply, you're punished, and if you don't, you're rewarded. That's
Hey,
fundamentally
I had
a
a
problem.
horrible experience. I want to switch gears. I'm going to get away from China and switch to an experience that I had here last week.
Mm.
Last week, my doorbell rings while I'm live on the air,
Here,
and
here in the
here
studio.
here at the
Uh-huh.
studio, and I wait till I'm in a commercial break, and I go and answer the door, and it's two inspectors from S&V
Okay.
with a summons letter requesting that, and they want, and they don't, and the two women that showed up really didn't have any clue what they were bringing me. They just handed me this. You have to sign for this, and I said, well, first of all, uh, this is a radio station. You're interrupting live radio. You can see on the name, based on the name of the how the document you're delivering is addressed, that you're coming to a radio station. Oh, we had no idea. Said, so if you'd like to make an appointment, I'm happy to help you. Um, and well, issue you a summons.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, you're going to issue me a summons because if you showed up, I can't show up at your office without an appointment. How dare you think you can show up here without an appointment? To ask me for stuff that was already sent to you from 2022 and 2023. And now you want me to go dig through my archives to find the information because of your sloppy accounting and bookkeeping. And they were almost in tears by the time they left. I'm sorry. It's just wrong. It's wrong to behave that way.
Mm-hmm.
And stop coming after the people that actually comply, that pay their bills, and go after the people that don't.
Right.
But we're easy, right? So,
And by the way, as you touch on that, a lot of times, so it's interesting that they actually came in person and asked you to sign, because most of these assessments and stuff, they just send them in the mail. I mean, almost any building you go to, if you look at their mailroom, it's just sort of scattered with these assessments all over the place. At my place, I still see assessments coming for people who left years and years ago, and like I don't know what to do with them. I just return them to the post office. But so in a sense, I think it's good that they have you sign for it, but indeed they need to do it in a way that is practical, that makes sense.
yeah, it was just very, very frustrating.
Yeah. So you will find this interesting. The other thing is, so in China, um, gasoline vehicles have blue license plates, and electric vehicles have green license plates.
Oh,
And what I was told, and certainly by experience, they said over 60% of the vehicles in China now are electric. And I don't know if you remember old photos of China, everyone used to be on a bicycle. Now they're on electric scooters. So the change there, getting away from fossil fuels to electric, is unbelievable.
wow.
They have charging stations everywhere for the scooters as well. So um, it's it's interesting to see how transformative it is, how they're progressing in some areas very quickly.
Yeah.
So we went to the one sort of science thing. We did go to a science museum.
Oh, cool.
And if you see the direction that they're pushing the public in terms of understanding the importance of AI in schooling, in opportunities, how to use it in your business, how to incorporate it in your life, in your business, a heavy push from an educational and entrepreneurial use in terms of using it in your businesses. So I think it's very interesting to see. Certainly from understanding the global perspective, it's worth going. And the accommodations there are very inexpensive. Food's very inexpensive. Um, it's incredibly safe there. I mean, of course, they have cameras everywhere, but you people never worry about leaving their things unlocked, or you can walk at any hour of the day any hour of the night in the streets, very safe. Yeah, I think highly recommend it for somebody to go and to understand, just what the world actually looks like.
Yeah, I struggle. I worry about the language barrier if I were to go.
Mhm.
So I need to kind of coordinate that appropriately. Um,
But
but
you could easily arrange like a personal translator to go with you everywhere. It's not expensive.
okay.
There, and instead of Uber, they have something called Didi.
Mhm.
Again, on that WhatsApp
Mhm.
um, a- communication system, and it's like Uber. You can just call vehicles. You can say where you're going. So you'd be surprised. I think if you're a little adventurous, you can get by. You can get by.
Mm.
I mean, Sebastian can do it. Sebastian took a DD from one location to another all by himself, arranged the whole thing. I mean, I went with him, but he booked it, arranged it, paid for it
Okay,
all by
so
himself.
so
And he's
I,
13.
I want to borrow Sebastian. I want to borrow Sebastian. I want to be his crazy Uncle Sock,
Yes.
and I'll take him to China with me.
Yes, yeah. And Maxime, my daughter, she loved it as well.
Oh,
She's like, Dad, I want to go back.
mm.
Yeah, it's a fascinating place to see.
I would like to see. I struggle with the political system. I struggle with the government control, and I would have to learn to watch my mouth.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that. Like I said, obviously, as a tourist, you're dealing on a very superficial level. Just like
Right,
tourists who come to St. Martin,
right.
they have no idea what happens here in terms of, behind the scenes in politics and parliament and budgets and all that kind of stuff. So obviously, the perspective's very superficial. Um, and I'm just saying, on that level, you don't see it at all. I'm sure if you owned, well, for example, if you owned a radio station there, that would be a real challenge for you to be able to speak your mind and say, I don't like this, or
Right.
the government should do that. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that would be a problem.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, so I get that.
Okay.
But, like I said, it's because the cost of living is so low, right? So housing's getting more expensive, but they do have a real estate issue. I saw a lot of buildings, like tall skyscraper type buildings, residential, that were unfinished. So something's going on there. I didn't quite understand the
What's average salary? Do we know?
I couldn't tell you, but it's not very high.
Mhm.
So the cost of living is low. The cost of food is low. Transportation's easy. But what that does is it allows the working population, indeed, to have a lower salary compared to the rest of the world, but they can maintain their lifestyle. I mean, there's no homeless people there. You don't see people on the street begging or living on the streets. You don't see that at all. No, panhandling for change, nothing like that. And
Mm.
so, because they manage to keep their costs of living low, it translates that the products that they make, they can keep their costs low
Mhm.
for export, right? So, I mean, that's
That's the reason.
clearly the way the
So,
economy is
in
based.
in terms, do they look at you as a foreigner if you don't speak? Because or
They
do
look
you?
at me confused, like, "Hey, you look like you're Chinese," and I could say a few, a little
Yeah.
bit, so I get a pass there. But yeah, I think they see me more as a foreigner, obviously. Yeah,
I mean, would they? I mean, obviously, I'm not Chinese, right? I don't look Chinese, right?
right.
What are they fascinated by Americans and the way that or the way are Europeans and the way that we look because we look so different?
No, I don't
Yeah.
think, like, because my daughter Maxime and
Yeah.
Sebastian, they're a mix,
Right.
and Maxime dresses probably a little too fashionable for, so she sticks out just
Right.
because she's fashionable. But otherwise, no, never felt
Yeah.
like, oh, who are you? What?
Yeah.
No, never felt, awkward in that sense.
Wow.
So, but like, for example, the gym equipment that we're looking at, that I actually purchased, and they're in the process of manufacturing, and I made changes. So, I mean, they were very accommodating. I said, I don't like, if you know gym equipment, some of the wheels in the gym equipment are sort of a nylon, it's sort of a plastic. I said, no, I prefer that to be aluminum. Okay, no problem. They changed. So really, this customer service, I bought the service parts one time. I said, look, if I have an issue, I don't want to have to wait 3 months for things to come from China. They made a whole set of spare maintenance parts.
Mm-hmm.
So, and for example, one of the pieces we're looking at, if I were to buy in the States, would be between $7,000 to $9,000. In China, it was 1,500. I mean, the savings are incredible. So,
Wow. Worth considering.
it's worth it.
I mean, I
It's
know
worth
all
it.
the solar stuff, even if we source it out of the States, is ultimately coming from there, right?
And if you see the amount of solar that they're putting, China doesn't have a lot of fossil fuels, so they're very clearly moving towards alternate energy. So, hydroelectric dams, solar farms. They have whole sort of sides of next to like highways and train stations that they're putting solar panels. And so, indeed, cost wise, if you're doing solar, in the end, I think a lot of the panels that we have in St. Martin, ultimately they're made in China anyways. They may get rebranded or labeled, but
Right.
so if you can find a way to buy directly from there, or if the installers here are buying, and I think they are, I think they're
Yeah.
buying directly, because if they go through the U.S., they get import duties put
Right.
on them, and then even though it's not installed in the States, if it ships through the U.S., they're paying those fees, and in the end,
Right.
those fees get passed on to the consumers.
I love my solar.
Yeah.
We all know that.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
Emil, always a pleasure, sir.
Thank you. I enjoyed it.
Thank you. We look forward to seeing you next week. St. Maarten Insights. Actually, no, you're traveling
I'm
again,
traveling again for a week, so the week after.
and I'm gone from the. I leave on the 29th, and I'm back on the 12th
Okay.
of August. But we should be able to do something remote from Connecticut.
Sure.
So not a problem. I'll be working from the studio up there. So
Sounds good.
cool. Always a pleasure to see you, sir.
Thanks.
St. Maarten Insights, news that matters to you with my buddy Emil Lee. We'll be right back, 8:48, right here in the Northeast Caribbean.